Hey y'all, it's Kenya Rutland from Live Canvas, and I'm so thrilled today to have y'all hanging out with us. We're doing on set, hanging out with Darlene Umina of Darlene and Company at Lamakia Realty. I'm being hosted here in our house, excited about a great opportunity to have a conversation with her, and specifically, I'm really super excited in the fact that her hospitality and not only helping us find houses, but bringing us into her own is going to include some goodies. So I want to welcome my guest today, Darlene Umina, and hey y'all, let's have a conversation. Darlene.
Kenya.
Hey.
I heard you like Pinot Noir.
Oh, the glasses are coming.
And
I do,
you
my
know
friend.
what?
What's that?
I am guilty of judging everything by a label. I'm a marketing girl at heart, and this just looked really cute.
Whoa.
And I went with it. I don't know if it's good, because I judge wine by labels.
Hey, y'all.
So you will have to let me know.
Awesome. Well, I'm thrilled. Looks like I'm having some whoa. This is awesome.
Whoa, Nelly.
Whoa, Nelly. Oh, whoa.
Whoa, Nelly.
Oh, okay. It's St. Lunatics, I guess they used to call him, whatever his name was. Whoa, Nelly.
Lunatics?
So, yeah. Well, no, Nelly, the singer, he's from St. Louis,
love
remember?
Nelly.
So, all right.
Ride with me? Are you kidding? It's like a classic.
So I'm going to leave that alone. I don't want to date myself for those that may be watching, but we did a little Nelly reference. So, Darlene, thank you. You invited me to your space, and I'm so
Yes.
thankful. Oh, my goodness.
A little charcuterie.
Okay, all right. So if anybody knows me well, like cheese and cut meats and everything else is great.
Oh,
So
we
this is
got all that.
awesome. This
All
is
right.
awesome.
And some crackers.
So now you're going to do like they do in the restaurant and tell us everything that's on this board, or like what? What's going on?
I'll give you some Cliff Notes.
Okay. Oh, Cliff Notes. This is good. That's not good, or just eat this. And don't eat
My
that?
two favorite things. Actually, I have a lot of favorites.
Oh, let's go.
Okay, so these are all my favorite things to put on charcuterie, but it's only two of us, so I didn't want to do like a huge thing.
Oh,
but-
this isn't huge. Okay.
So we have chili tangerine olives, which
Oh.
are amazing. Manchego, apricot Stilton. That's like my favorite. And my second favorite is espresso parmesan. And then we
Espresso.
have some marinated mozzarella pearls and cranberry goat cheese.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so really, truly, and then of course, who doesn't love a good cheese spread? I mean, girl
I love
dinner.
it.
This
I
will
love
be
it.
my dinner. This is a girl dinner.
Well, let me tell you something. Well, if I'm allowed to have a girl dinner and hang with you, I'm in the mix with you. For those that are watching, I would just say to you that Darlene has become now, I would like to say, a peer, a friend, someone that we were privileged to work with in selling a house and buying a house. And when I think about like home, the place that we reside every day, et cetera, you've changed a lot of people's lives by really bringing them into spaces. And, you know, they may be expensive from time to time, but I mean, in my case, my wife.
Housing is really affordable. Haven't you heard?
So listen, what we're going to do is we're going to enjoy some of this, and I'm so thankful that you brought me in, but I wanted to just kind of get an opportunity to sit with you because I think there's just so many nuggets that you have to offer. And at Live Canvas, we talk about this idea of showcasing the real you and showcasing real stories. And those that know you for your profession, right? You know, finding the best property, finding new homes, and just being good at your craft. And we've seen signs and the awards and things you have. But I want to peel the onion back and talk a little bit more about who you actually are and letting your clients and the community at large know more about who's the person behind that beautiful brand, Darlene and Company at Lamakia Realty. So if you don't mind, I'd love to start. I'm going to hop into some of this, but I wanted to begin with just a quick, hey, many people know you, but like if I said, who's Darlene Umina? Well, who would you say? How would you define yourself? What would it be that you would say about yourself?
I could probably spend like the whole, I don't know how long we're here, but that whole time talking about who I am. So I'm going to try to summarize it for you. But I always hate answering the question with a mom, a wife. I mean, I am those things. I am a mom, a wife, a daughter, realtor, a friend. But actually, at a young age, I answered that question. My mom was like, that's not who you are. You're supposed to lead with what makes you you, and then you are those things. So, I mean, if you really like took a peek inside of like who I am, I love glitter. I love sunshine. I love R&B and rap music from the 90s. I love giant sunglasses and lots of mascara. Marketing, obviously, and little kids and pets. Those are my joys in life. And entertaining, always entertaining, having people at my house. So that's really who I am.
Well, thank you for inviting us into your space, and I think we're getting a chance to experience a lot of these. We'll have to come back to the mascara. You know, I'm not sure I want to do a whole lot with that. No, I got Nelly. So, but no, that's really interesting, and I love the advice you mentioned that your mom gave you because I like the way you said that. Like you are who you are, and those are the things that you are. But you start that. Really quick, I got to ask you, glitter. You started with glitter. Interestingly, tell me more about that.
I love glitter. I love sparkle. I love glitter. My family knows this about me. It's actually really funny during like what I refer to as high COVID, which was when we were like all, the height of COVID.
Yeah.
I was super stressed out, as were most people. And I was on a Zoom call for work, and I came out of the Zoom call, and Gracie, my daughter, was, 5 maybe at the time? And she's like, Mom, I have a surprise for you. And I was like, oh, what's up? And she said, follow me. She found glitter, which we always have glitter in the house, and she literally dumped it all over the house. There was like a line everywhere, just almost like the yellow brick road. And the funny thing was, I mean, we've sold that house now, but we were finding glitter forever. It just, every other mom I know, I think would have been really upset. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. Thank you. You cheered me up. So there's just something about glitter. And I know like glittergrams, everyone talks about like that's when you send an envelope of glitter to someone and they open it up and it makes a mess. Like I would be throwing it in the air. I love glitter. I love sparkle, all that stuff.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing, and I would say that I grew up in the polar opposite household. Like, what are you doing with all this glitter? So that's interesting. So you mentioned a lot of things that you actually, when you think about who you are, etc. And that's interesting because the list has a lot of diversity in the things that you reference there. Maybe early in this conversation, I can go ahead and just hit the work stuff because innately we're going to go beyond that, but. How did you get into like the field that you're in? I mean, you've been doing this, it sounds like, for a while. I know I've seen you, I met you kind of in that space with kids in school and things like that. But how did you get into the field? Like, how did you find this calling?
I have to say I'm an eye roller when people are like, I've always wanted to do this since I was little. I've always dreamed of being a realtor because, truthfully, I don't think that's true for many people. And it was one of my interests. But when I was little, I used to stay up late. I don't know if you remember this, but GMAC, who's no longer with us, RIP GMAC, they used to run a TV show late at night, like 12, 1 in the morning. So when I was like 8 and I should have been sleeping, I was staying up late and I was watching all of the homes for sale, which of course technology was so different. It was just like a running loop of like pictures. I was up late, my mom would come by and be like, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, wow, there's one more house. And then I would always get the little pamphlets at the grocery store, which are still around, I think, actually. No one advertises in them because truly they don't work. And so we try to focus on things that work now. But when, I was 8 or 9 or 10, they did work. And so I'd always take them. And I felt guilty because I was like, I'm not buying a house. But I would digest those. So I knew early on that real estate was an interest for me. But truly it started because I had to get ourselves out of a financial crunch. My oldest son had an autoimmune disorder that really was all-encompassing. I couldn't work full-time, and we had to do lots of trips to the National Institute of Health in DC, and we ended up in a situation where we had to claim bankruptcy, we had to sell our house, and when we're on the flip side of that, I was just very uncomfortable. I didn't like renting. And I was like, if we're gonna get out of this, I have to do something. My husband was on a set income, so real estate seemed the way to go. It was a little bit of a tough market, but I knew that the only way to truly accomplish our goals, which the first one was buy a new house, that was gonna be how it was gonna be done. So thankfully, it is something I'm so passionate about that it barely felt like work at that time. And then the more, I think we had a new house within 6 months. And then the more I stayed with it, it was just so fun. And then I was able to really achieve all of our family goals. So bigger house over time, vacation home. So that's how I ended up there.
Wow, interesting. And we're talking about showcasing the real you. So I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing the insights there. But it sounds like, there's a nugget in there that there was a little bit of challenge. You talk about your baby, your child. Anytime our children are involved, we do what we need to do, right? But it sounds like there are certainly some dynamics of you being able to pivot and then creating this great thing you have now. I don't want to say fast forwarding, but I'll say marrying to what you just referenced in the work aspect. If I said to you, what are the characteristics that you see or you feel in yourself or that you possess that you would say have led to you being able to transition from what might have been a challenging scenario to get into a place of, I'm always careful with the word success because I think it's an iterative thing. It's always happening, not
Yes.
I've achieved success, but like to where you are now. What are those characteristics that you think like, clearly using this helped me? And I'm going to take a sip of this if you don't mind.
Actually,
I'm
let's
gonna go
cheers.
let's go. I'm going to go in, whoa Nelly. Here we go,
Nelly.
whoa Nelly. So we might have to pay some
We're gonna have
royalties
to
here.
tag Ronelli on this.
Whoa. We can do this.
Nelly.
We can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
It's good.
We're going to go there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just characteristics around just like, hey, what are those things that you say, hey, you know what, as I reflect in my space, I think these are some of the things I possess that may have helped me get there. What thoughts come to mind for you? That's good.
Well, there's a few different things. I'm a fixer by nature. Growing up, always a fixer. Something's wrong, how am I gonna fix it? Always. That was my, and there's probably nothing more valuable in the real estate space than fixing. And I know that the whole world is used to HGTV and all these different, dramas that they have on there that's supposed to be fiction. And a lot of it's scripted. But what happens, our job as realtors is to make it look easy and not really show a lot of behind the scenes. But as you know, in your very own transaction, sometimes there's things you can't control. And it's the agents that know how to fix it that will get you to the finish line. So again, that translates to my business. In real life, it was, how am I going to fix this financial crisis? How am I going to manage a sick baby and working full time? So translating those skills, early on, I remember we were in a really kind of difficult health situation with Parker. And I was so focused on what was next. And the doctor said to me, we were in the ER, and he's like, you are unflappable. Most parents would be dissolved right now. And I was like, thanks, but what's next? What are we doing? Cool, but what are we doing? So it's like those things that really truly translate into my business, where it's like, all right, obviously we celebrate our wins. I'm big into celebrating wins, but sometimes things get messy. And so how are you fixing those so that you have a success story on the other side? And I think those characteristics for me are really important.
I think it's so funny that in that moment, and I know you love your kids, and just think about, I can only imagine what it might have been like to be in whatever the situation was. It's kind of funny that you were like, thanks.
Yeah.
What's next? So in the moment of calling it out, you
And
were like
I
recognizing
was like, unflappable, what does that mean? And I'm like,
I'll figure it out later.
okay, thanks. But what's next?
Yeah. And I can just attest to the fact that I know, just in context, we were so thankful for your services and your family, and you had members coming in helping us clean up something we needed to do, etc. And I was like, wow, they do all of this. And at a certain point, my wife was like, you've been a little absent, buddy. It was she and I doing all this stuff. So thank you for what you did for our family, and I just think it's really good. So I ask you about characteristics because when I think about like people who are working in the entrepreneurial space, there's just some inevitable things that come into play. One unique thing I would say is that I know that you have had the chance to work with your husband in a few scenarios. You have a chance. He might even be here today. I'm not sure, but like you had a chance to work with him. How is that? Like in a sense of like, as you do your thing and you connect and you drive, you got your life partners right here with you.
It's nice because, so I've been doing this full time for over 11 years. And so no one knows how I work and how dedicated I am to my work better than he does. I mean, he knows my trigger points. He knows when I might need support, when I definitely don't want support. And he also like doesn't get upset if I'm like, okay, you do this. Like he respects the fact that I'm steering the ship and he's filling in the blanks where I need him so that I can best steer the ship. And I know that, and people ask me all the time, how does it work with working with your spouse? And they're like afraid, it's like, oh God, I could never do that. And like, yeah, there's some times where I'm like, am I being fair? Am I respecting him the way I should be? But it's a family business, and honestly, even my kids, like we are in the real estate business. Like sometimes they don't get all of me either, and they know, hey, I have a call, or I have this, or this is important, leave me alone, take the dogs outside, do what you need to do. And so he's, a playing part of that too. But we joke lovingly because sometimes I'm barking orders and occasionally I don't know if anybody has seen Entourage series, but his nickname is Lloyd. So if you've seen Entourage,
Lloyd!
I mean, sometimes, I don't remember. Geez, it might have even been your house, to tell you the truth. We had so many things going on with this one particular transaction with permits had to be closed, attorneys were involved. So I was on 2 calls at once on hold with, I think, an attorney in the town. Oh no, he was calling the town. Anyways, and I put on mute and I said, Andy! It was clear across the house. He was in our office towards the front. I was in the sun porch behind us. Call the expletive town! And he just did it. You know what I mean? Like, he knows how to react when I'm in a stress point. So he really just compliments me the way I need to be complimented. And it's just so, I feel blessed to be able to have someone that understands me so well and reacts to me so well to be able to help our family succeed and be successful.
I think that's awesome. I mean, is he here? Is he?
Are you here?
Hey, come, hey. Oh, he is here. So, hey, actually, this is going to work out perfectly because I get a chance to meet this guy. So, hey, man, how you doing? Rumor has it you're Lloyd?
Well, yeah.
Lloyd.
We got cheese?
Lloyd?
Well, and he did the perfect husband thing, slide right in. So I'm going to follow you. I'm going to go into these olives here and just see what's what. So,
Espresso Parmesan.
Are these hot? Are these hot?
No, a little hot.
Okay.
You might need to have more wine.
Oh, wow. And there's a
Tangerine chili tangerine, yeah. So good.
Wow, those are good. So listen, I'm gonna put my little toothpick here, but the question that excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah, this would be on camera. I do have more wine. So talk to me, what's it like being, working with your partner in life and just kind of almost being partners? Well, you are partners in the business as well, but talk to me, what's the day to day like for you?
It's busy.
Yeah.
Like she said, she does yell at me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nicely.
Yeah, lovingly. I've never had a boss that yelled at me like she does.
Oh, well, okay. Well, you get a chance to get back at sometimes in some way maybe, but keep going. So what's it like? I mean, because I think this is an interesting dynamic. It's an amazing couple working together, and it sounds like you're making it work. But what's your perspective on that? Because Darlene was just sharing.
Yeah, I mean, watching her start and grow the way she did, and it's been fun being able to jump in and help out now. What's the day like? It's like a normal day, waking up with your family and your wife and your kids, and we cook breakfast together. She usually shuttles them off to school, and then I just start my day, whatever I have to do, whatever needs to be done.
Yeah, so he does the ops side. So meeting the fire department or meeting the sellers first, making sure they're all set for the fire department, putting up signs. He also does some handyman work, light handyman work. If there's something that needs to be done, I'm like, go over there and then hang those shelves or paint this if you need to. So it's a lot of reactiveness. No, I'm telling you, he kind of just.
I'm just laughing because you were telling me what was what, and then she was like, "Let me just tell you what he does." See, I saw it on cam. I saw it on cam.
She has to remind me a lot. I forget a lot, so she'll call me multiple times during the day and say, "Did you get that one done yet?" I'm like, "On my way."
That's awesome.
Is the train still on the tracks?
But the dynamic for you is you see your role in it because it's those things that, where she may be in the front, kind of handling whatever it is, you're making sure that the glue and all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, things that are there. We were thankful for your support because I remember you helped us out. Family members of yours even playing roles in the way of helping us out, but I think that's really good stuff and thinking it through. I'm going to do this on camera. I know we're going to get back to Darlene here in a second, but before you leave, we're talking about showcasing real stories, et cetera, at live cameras specifically, but we're talking about Darlene. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Right. I want to make sure that you're still alive and that, there is no paper. You're not filing any papers after this conversation.
Never.
One descriptor of the amazing person to my left from your perspective, and I want to ask, I know she was saying earlier, people get fluffy sometimes and stuff, but from the context of the work product. People know the work product, so we understand that context, but take it out of that. What one word to describe her from your perspective, just in the sense of the overall being that you're privileged to be a partner with.
I mean, you said it, amazing. At everything.
Yeah.
Family life, raising kids, work. She's amazing.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome.
We didn't know you were going to ask that question.
Yeah. And live cameras community, we showcase the real you. So this is real time moment this year.
I'll take amazing.
No. Well, Andy, nice seeing you again.
Right.
And thank you for allowing me to be in your space. We appreciate you having us. Oh, no, that's the way you do it, man. Husband, we got to grab some of this. So I got to hop in here and see this and look at this loving moment on cam here. So, but thank you, brother. We appreciate you. So Darlene, you were saying, really making space for the idea that one, it works when you have partners. It sounds like role clarity is important too, because what I heard you say loud and clear is you know what you do.
Yeah.
You know, Andy knows what he does. It works really well there. Let's shift gears for 1 second. You were talking earlier about things not to say when introducing yourself, but you mentioned motherhood.
Yeah.
Talk to me
Yeah.
about that. What's that like? Because I mean, inevitably we see the transaction lady, right? Excuse me, you're making this happen, you're making that happen. Many of us, we met, our kids were in the same school, but just what is that like? How does that, the parenting aspect and motherhood specifically, how does that show up in your world?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when I was a young mom, I had no intention of being any sort of entrepreneur, any sort of. I wanted to stay home with them, and I did when they were little. I was baking cookies and making Play-Doh, and I loved, like, that was by far. And I have all these accolades and all these different things that I get uncomfortable talking about, frankly. But when I was with them and that was it, just my babies, like, by far the happiest. And as we talked about already, we were bankrupt, and I still, like, that was the happiest time of my life. So coming out of that and taking so much time away from them was really, really difficult for me. But I had to recognize I was truly doing that for them. You know, it was for the family. So it's been interesting to shift gears to be like, okay, I'm not full-time with them, even though obviously I have some flexibility in this particular line of work. But now my message to them is, you know, you can change the course of your whole life if you decide to put in hard work and find what you're good at and truly dive into what your gift to the world should be. So completely different than where I was when I first started as a young mom.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's actually a powerful piece to think through. And I just wonder, because looking at it from the opposite perspective as a dad, it's just so interesting that provider.
It's really weird to be like the sole provider. And I think that's also, even as the sole provider, I recognize it might be weird for Andy, who was just here, to shift. You know, he used to be, back in that time, he was the sole provider. He worked himself into the ground. And I was a very supportive wife when he, you know, came home, but he worked so much. And then we ended up switching gears to, all right, I'm going to take over. You need a break. And now we've kind of blended everything.
Yeah.
And I never in a million years ever would have imagined this is be where we are at this point in our lives.
I'm thankful for y'all being able to be there. I hope you continue to crush it and maximize on everything you can do to keep being able to do it. So now I'm going to dive in from all that work stuff and the external stuff. We're coming to you more specifically.
Okay.
Two things. Accomplishments, right? Accomplishments. I'm going to start in the professional ranks. Hey, you know, you've been at this for a while. I know that, you know, there are some dynamics at play where, like you mentioned, you know, you two working together, you know, you started very humbly, you've been able to kind of move this thing along. But professional accomplishments, if I said, not so much the number one, but accomplishments that you put on that radar of like, yeah, these are those moments that stand out for me. Any thoughts that come to mind for you?
Yeah, it's actually, this is my least favorite piece of being a realtor, is to show. I hate being, ages ago there used to be like blogs that would call it, it was all welcome awe, and it was this awe moment, and people would be like icky and share their stuff, and so I really am so uncomfortable with like awards and all those things. But at the same time, it's the dichotomy of I have to show the world that I'm successful at what I do, which means I have to share these awards. And of course, I'm proud of them, but I get stuck in this space of that I don't want to share, because it does feel icky to me. So professionally speaking, you know, I've sold close to 450 homes, over like 250 million, somewhere around there, in homes closed over the past 10 plus years, which is nice to say, certainly, because it does help me get more business. I mean, it's experience. But I really, truly base my success off of repeat business. I think if you're really, truly going to find that nugget that makes you successful, it's not so much, okay, I churn transactions. It's who's calling me back to sell again, who's referring their family, who's referring their friends, who's excited to try to repeat the process that we created to, you know, accomplish their dreams and goals. So whenever someone calls me back or said, and I love this. I remember everybody. Once someone sells me, they are part of my family. I love them forever, whether they like it or not. So like people will call from like 7 years ago and they're like, I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. I know all your cats' names and your kids' names. And so that to me is a true measure of accomplishment. But one thing this year too, which was pretty cool, I try to, I was born and raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, K through college. And so one of the things they teach you about charity is like, it should be quiet. And in the real estate world, it's not quiet. Lots of people are using that as a way to move forward. And so it's kind of, again, another strange space to be in. But I believe that you should always be giving back to your community. So there's been all sorts of different initiatives over the years that I've taken part in, and I run Giving Trees for Single Moms in Metro West, specifically trying to focus on Framingham, and I support the Why Not Devon Foundation, work on their planning board, and I'm the vice president of the new Lamakia Cares board, which has been very rewarding. But so this year, as a result of continued professional success and charitable contributions, I was awarded the Megan Martin Award for work in our corporate awards, essentially. I don't know what we want to call that. It's our Crush It event. But anyways, that was like, I was not expecting it. And it was truly something that, when you step outside yourself and you realize that other people are recognizing those accomplishments, and that you can be successful professionally and from a personal charitable perspective, that was really, truly a huge, probably my crowning professional achievement.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, anytime you can be rewarded or awarded for your efforts is huge. And I love what you said, and I think that's what I know of you. You're super humble. I mean, 450 homes.
Yeah.
Love it. That's tiny stuff. I mean, 450 homes, that's not a whole lot.
It seems crazy when I add it up, because I'm like, I still feel like it's 10.
Yeah. Well, I will put this out there and say, and for those that are watching, you'll learn this about Darlene. You come across as the number doesn't matter, though, because everybody gets that. And you said something that I really appreciate. It sounds like relationships are what matter to you, like
yes.
knowing that stuff. And transactional individuals, I would never even know your name, just sign here.
Yes.
And that's so not like you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, you sharing, and congrats on the award.
Thank you.
Certainly know what you've done. Hey, I want to keep us moving here, but I'll give you one other question along this same line. But I'm going to shift to the other side, and you indirectly hinted at this with awards and things you just referenced. That's professional. What if I said, Darlene Umina, personal accomplishment? Like if you were thinking about like the thing that, the I moment, you know what I mean? And I know some of us, you share with me, you're like, I know this about you. You don't like to talk about yourself, but just what's the thing, like what's a personal accomplishment? You're like, yeah, that one right there, or those, if there's a combination of them.
I can't really think of like what a personal. Okay, all right, fine. I'm gonna abandon all things that I typically wouldn't say.
I'm taking a sip for this one.
There's two maybe. One, I really truly am so proud of my family. Like I love being a mom more than anything else. They are just like the most important little people. I can't believe that we made them. Like it's just amazing miracle, amazing. So really, truly, if I'm going to rank my accomplishments, it's my 3 babies. I worry every day. I'm super nostalgic. I worry every day about like them growing up and leaving, and what am I going to do? And time to cue the medication. But so that is truly, personally, my biggest accomplishment. The other thing that's just kind of cool, which I wouldn't normally bring up at all, is growing up.
So Darlene, you just shared just some insights about, the things you navigate with your family, et cetera. And I just want to reference the fact that you mentioned you have a daughter. And so I was just thinking about having met your daughter and you noting this as well. Just kind of wondering, what advice would you have for young women? Just current climate, the world in general, but thinking about it from the lens of you're also raising that your mom, kind of provided resources for, et cetera. Like, what would you say to our young women, or like your own daughter, if you were giving advice and suggestions?
Well, one of my favorite things that I really truly value about the feminist movement is that it gave us a choice. So I talked earlier about like how much I loved being home with my kids. I mean, it really was absolutely the happiest point in my life, those, 5 years or so. And yet it was funny because, when I go out with my girlfriends and we'd talk and we'd be like, oh, I could never be home with my kids. I need to be out working. I need to be. And so the value that gave us was the choice. You can, if this is where you are your best self, is home raising your kids, good. And alternately, if you're like, I have to be out making a splash in the world, bringing my gifts to the table, good. We have that choice. So I am very careful about projecting my goals for her onto her. If she wants to, she's a Spitfire. So I'll say that. She's probably not going to be the type to stay home. But if she wants to, good for her. She has that choice. But I don't want her to feel like I'm projecting, go out, light the world on fire, go be a CEO, go be president. I want her to be able to have the space to truly figure out what makes her happy and the most fulfilled in this world, instead of listening to all the noise. There's so much noise of, girls should be this, girls should be that. And I do definitely let her know, as you can be loud. You want to be loud, be loud. You don't have to be quiet. If you don't want to hug your uncle, don't hug your uncle. If you, don't want to do anything really, you don't have to do it. I'm going to guide you in this safety bubble until you're an adult to feel like you have the tools you need to say yes to the things you want and feel very confident saying no to the things you don't want. And I think that's the best lesson that we can give our girls, because there's still gender roles and there's still things. I actually, we can cut this if you want, but I had a moment in Sephora myself earlier. And I was in line. It was taking forever. And I'm not usually a boat rocker, we'll say. And I was in line and it was getting close to 20 minutes and my schedule was tight and I was really like dying in line. And so this sales associate comes in. I'm like, oh, thank God somebody's saving me. And I start to move. And she's like, okay, sir, I can take you over here. And I was like, oh my God. I said, no. I've been in line for 20 minutes and I need to leave. Like, you're going to take me. And she said, oh, she works for Sephora. I work for Kohl's. I said, well, right now she's actually working for Kohl's because she was ringing out clothes. And I said, you're going to work for Sephora. And I went over with my stuff and I said, I'm sorry, sir, if they think that your schedule is more important than mine, but I really have to get out of here. And he laughed. He was like, hey, I didn't know. No problem. Go ahead. And I had that moment of like, oh God, I was just so nasty. I just was so, and it's like, no, I wasn't. I was here first. I'm allowed to be there first. So I don't want any person to feel like icky for doing things like that. It should be a person and should be, yeah, I was here first. And if I want to say yes to something, I say yes. If I want to say no, I can say no. But that's what I want from my kids.
Yeah. And I so see her doing that.
She would do that. It was a moment. I couldn't even believe the things coming out of my mouth. I'm like, actually, she's working for Kohl's right now, and you're about to work for Sephora.
There's a manager in the back going, that's how I can make my staff more efficient. I didn't realize that myself. See, you came in as an entrepreneur and you saw there's a disconnect here. Why don't you just let everybody ring up everything?
And the best part was, the man that they thought was more important than me was like, oh my God, go ahead, please. You were in line first.
Made sense.
Anyways.
No, that
a little slice of me too.
No, good. And I just kind of says what's what. And I think, the lesson learned for maybe the person behind the counter even is maybe to check that situation, right? Because it's like being at the airport, or you've been standing in line and somebody who might have elite status or whatever it is, or if you're the person with elite status, you're ticking, hey man, I'm used to this, but there's sometimes it's a decency factor also. If somebody's been waiting, and they've been waiting, I've been the person who sometimes tried to say like, hey, you know what, they probably should just go ahead, or somebody's like, I gotta catch a flight, I'm late.
Yeah.
They're the people who like, I got a flight at noon, but you got a flight at 6, and they just
But it was a weird position where I was like, whoa, I just asserted myself. I was kind of just an alpha female. I don't usually do that. And then I was like, you know what? You should do that more often.
Yeah. There's a term for that. We won't say it on camera though.
Can? Unless there's something else I don't know about.
No. You're on it. You're on it. So here's what I got for you then. Right. So I'm going to close us out in this conversation, which I feel has been really good to learn more about you. And I think this is a goal of like hopefully having people that are considering having someone guiding them along what can be a transactional process. Oh, I'm buying a home. Well, you're somebody that if they meet you, they work with you, they're going to get a human being. They're going to get somebody who cares about them. There's history behind what you're sharing. A family person, a business person who's, you've had to grind, you've seen challenge, you're raising some beautiful kids. You get a partner who is working in the business with you, and y'all are working together. I got 2 questions actually, so I'm going to ask you for this one first, and then I'm going to do our traditional closing question that we have as well.
Okay.
So the first is, so Darlene Umina, you have the ability to kind of influence people moving forward, and they are actually maybe desiring to get into the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What things would you say to them? And as a matter of fact, I don't want to add too much into this, but if they were women, I don't know if that would matter or not, but like, what advice would you have for a rising or desirable entrepreneur?
Okay, maybe twofold.
Go.
So one would be that woman, man, actually this would apply to both anyway, but I love to see women succeed. You have to be authentic. You have to show up authentically. I think the people that, and I've seen so much in the real estate world, because people are like, oh, I need to be like that person on HGTV, or I need to be like that top producer in my office. I need to be like Ryan Serhant. You cannot be somebody who you are not. And other people pick that up so quickly. And it's unattractive. And in the end, the bottom line is your vibe attracts your tribe. So do you want to hang out with people that are like you, that appreciate you, that are like-minded? Or do you want to be with people that you are entirely miserable to spend time with? And if you show up as somebody that's not you and you're not authentic, that's who you're going to attract. A random, or who knows, you might get some people that you like, you might get some people that you really don't want to spend time with. So the more you put out of yourself that's authentic, the more you're going to get back that feeds your soul, feeds your business, and again, really truly does the best at displaying your gifts to the world. So I cannot preach authenticity enough. And I will say, there's certain things that I leave off the camera and leave to the world. And of course, you have shed light on a few of them. I'm very sweary in real life. I do try to, keep that in my back pocket. There's some things you want to keep to yourself. Even though I might start to, I don't know. We'll see about that. But authenticity, chief. Second to that, I think it's really important, there's some people that are born with an entrepreneurial spirit, and there's some people that discover it along the way. Now, I'm certainly one of those people. I was like, my first job out of school was insurance because I wanted insurance, ironically. And that was awful. And then I went into HR, and it was comfortable, and it paid well, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my wins, but it was not feeding like who I was as a person. So the first time that I really truly felt fulfilled was again as a young mom. And then the next time I felt fulfilled was when I was winning in real estate and making changes for these people. It was like I affected their life. I changed their life by being good enough at my job to be able to get them a house in a tight market or whatever, figuring out their circumstances. So recognizing that your path might not be linear. It might not, you might not graduate college and say, oh, I'm going to, someday I want to be VP marketing somewhere. So I'm going to start off as a marketing assistant here, and then I'm going to go into a marketing manager, and then I'm going to go. It doesn't work that way. And so when you see the universe pointing you in another direction, things get difficult, you reach a wall, go ahead, pivot. And recognize that if something isn't working for you, it's not where you're supposed to be. Life is supposed to be easy. And so if you're meeting challenge, you're not in the right place. And remember that it's not a race. Everybody's timeline is different, and it's never too late to be the greatest version of yourself. Whether that's a personal goal or a professional goal, you can be 65 when you figure out who you are and what you were supposed to do. You can be lucky enough to figure it out at 25. But you don't have to stay on the same timeline as all of your peers, or meet the expectations of your family. Recognize who you are, find your gifts, and show them to the world.
I love it. I would say to you that is such a nugget. So what you just told me is I should go get my glove, my cleats, maybe go see if I can, try out. I don't want to get in trouble on cam, but people that know me know I'm a diehard Yankees fan, so they might need me right now. So I should try.
I would actually love if you joined the Yankees.
I mean,
Let's go.
Good guess. Yeah, I didn't know if there was a story behind it. I thought I was gonna get in trouble, like because you thought they were gonna stink more or something.
That's exactly my story. It gives us a better chance at winning.
So sorry about
hit the nail on the
her.
head.
So Darlene just built me up, and then she said, "And if you join the Yankees, they're gonna get worse, Kenya." So this is awesome. So all that stuff
Maybe
about
we'll
trying.
find you a good dad's league. Good local dad's league. We'll start you off there.
That's it. I gotta get warmed up first. So then, Darlene, coming back. I guess the last question that I have for you is it's our traditional question we ask individuals when we're doing live canvases or canvas conversations is you've told us a lot about you. We've learned more, so hopefully people can dive a little deeper into your space when you've opened the walls and windows for us to do that. Concurrently, you've talked about some of the things you've accomplished. You've talked about your family. You've talked about really just things about your upbringing that you've navigated. If I was to now ask you to think about the idea of a canvas, and we're live canvas, right? So we think about canvases a lot, and people draw, they paint their pictures, etc. They tell their stories through a canvas.
Yeah.
If I said, hey, I'm giving you a canvas, and you get to fill it with the things that matter to you, what would be on your life canvas? What are those things that are like important to you that would stand out, that would be clearly there for people to see?
Okay. And I'm sure I hear important, and I think like, there's always, like, my family is always going to be on that canvas. So my husband, my kids, maybe a picture of them when they were little, because I love that time so much. So like they're always going to be important to me, but the time I had with them when they were babies is super important to me. I love beaches, sunsets especially, definite wine drinker, cocktails in general. I would consider myself a pad thai connoisseur. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. Anytime anyone's like, have you tried that Thai place? Like, yes, I have, and I will rate their pad Thai for you. Iced coffee. So recently, well, not that recently, but in the past few years, I had to cut caffeine. So I was like, all right, what's the point in drinking coffee? At this point, no. I love iced coffee so much that it's just a decaf every morning, and I still can't start my day without my decaf iced coffee, which is kind of funny because it's useless, but I need it. I can't even start my day without it. I did mention earlier in this video about mascara. I don't know. I grew up in Waltham, Watertown. I went to school in Providence. I need 10 pounds of mascara to start my day. So mascara is very important to me. And giant sunglasses, R&B music. Yeah, you know what? That probably sums everything. Flowers. I love fresh flowers. Fresh flowers in my life will turn the whole day right side up. And entertaining. I love my friends. I love to be able to share, break bread, as they say. Spend time with them. And it's so fun hanging out with you today. I even got to learn a little bit about you.
Hey, it's been a blast. It's been a blast, and I appreciate it. I thank you for hosting us. I mean, I would say personally, and then on behalf of Live Canvas, it's just really nice. I know we've been trying to do this for a while and wanted to kind of do this, and I think that what I learned today is just, there's so much more behind the person with the business. I remember seeing, I think the first time I ran into you was you had sponsored something for our kids' school. And it was like, oh, there's a name. Oh, that's interesting. And then my wife was like, oh, she's amazing. And then the community was like, you want to buy a house? Call her, and you subsequently see that. And then we experience a buy and sell, and it just kind of showcase your skill set. So it was great hanging with you. I would wonder if you could help us make sure we close this right, because inevitably we've talked about showcasing the real you, but you also are awesome at the business. So how do people find you? Like, hey, if they're watching this and they're inclined to say, hey, I want to connect there, how do we find you?
Well, the easiest way to find me is Facebook at Darlene Umina. You'll be able to reach me that way, or my website, which is darleneumina.com or darleneandcompany.com, and definitely Instagram, which is Darlene_Umina. And I would love to hear from any of you that just need any advice in life or real estate. Definitely welcome it all. Awesome.
And so for the community at Live Canvas, we want to say thank you so much. We had the chance to hang out with Darlene Umina at Darlene and Company at Lamacchia Realty. So Darlene and Company, at Lamacchia Realty. Trying to make sure I get that mouthful together. But hang out with Darlene.
A better home for myself.
You got to make sure.
Realty, so that's really important.
But the key thing is, she's awesome. We want to do this, and I'm hopeful that there's just one nugget, if just that you got. And for my young women especially, here's an aspiring entrepreneur you can be just hard work is what's key. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Darlene, thanks for hosting.
Thanks,
and Andy, by the way, Andy, thank you. We appreciate you. See y'all later. See you next time. Take care.
That's a wrap.
Nice work.